Welcome to my channel. A house husband is a man who stays home to manage household duties while his partner works. His role involves traditional household chores typically handled by a stay-at-home wife, along with tasks like home repairs, car upkeep, and yard work, occasionally. The house husband's wife may assist with cooking or child care, but he generally handles these responsibilities on his own. I honestly don't think I could have managed this role if I'd started when my 3 children were young. Our family didn't have much extra money, so we relied on daycare while my wife and I worked hard to maintain a middle-class lifestyle. When my kids reached middle school, my wife decided to pursue an MBA program that her employer funded. This meant I had to shoulder additional duties to keep the household running while she studied and attended both online and in-person classes. I didn't mind the added tasks because I knew her MBA would help advance her career and increase her earnings. Amy's MBA program was designed for full-time working professionals, so it took her nearly 3 years to finish. By the time she graduated, our kids were already in college. Fortunately, each of them was a strong student and received several scholarships. However, having 3 children in college still came with major expenses. I worked as the head of the accounting department at a small family-owned manufacturing business. They paid me a fair wage, but it was much less than what a CPA in a large company would make. Eventually, Amy's dedication paid off and she was promoted to Executive Vice President of Product Development at the multinational insurance firm where she had been employed for over 15 years. With this new role came a substantial pay increase, a car allowance, an expense account, and an annual bonus alongside other corporate perks. Her unexpected career success couldn't have come at a better time. The economy took a sudden downturn and my company was hit particularly hard. After struggling for nearly a year, they sold the business to our main competitor, who promptly shut down our operations and closed the plant. They offered me a job at their other facility 300 miles away, with a lower salary, about a third of what Amy was making, excluding bonuses. I had no option but to turn down the offer, and just like that, I was out of work. I searched for a new position, only to realize that no one locally was hiring until the economy improved. John, this isn't the end of the world. I'm doing well, and we've set aside enough in the college funds for the kids to complete their studies, so try not to stress, Amy reassured me. I know, but I've worked my entire life. I can't just sit around doing nothing. Don't worry, I have a long list of important tasks you never had time for, so you won't be idle, she said with a smile. And so I began my journey as a house husband at age 48. Amy's list was indeed extensive, and it took me most of the year to finish all the home improvement projects she suggested. Just as I wrapped up those, she moved on to demanding landscaping projects. While I focused on enhancing our home, Amy continued to climb the corporate ladder. She was promoted to senior EVP, along with a sizable raise. She loved her job and was well regarded by influential people, often invited to events where she mingled with the city's elite. Naturally, I was expected to accompany her to many of these gatherings. At some point, I began to notice subtle changes in how Amy treated me at these events. Initially, she would keep me close by as she moved around, making brief, light-hearted conversation with key individuals. But gradually, she started asking me to stay by our table or sit at the bar while she mingled. Before long, I found myself spending most evenings either keeping the other executives' wives entertained or sitting alone. Eventually, things became unbearable. During a weekend getaway to a beautiful resort, she left me with the wives on the first night and was gone for almost 3 hours. The next day, she informed me she had meetings with senior executives and board members mentioning that the wives were planning a spa day. All right, fine, but what am I supposed to do all day? I can't tag along while they're getting mud baths and doing other spa stuff. I don't know, John. Go for a hike or something. I have important business and I don't have time to entertain you. I held my tongue, sensing she was tense, but I promised myself it would be the last time I let her bring me to one of these gatherings. All right, don't worry about me. I'll be fine. I spent the day by the pool and the small tiki bar nearby. I'd just finished my second gin and tonic when I noticed a group stepping out onto the raised terrace of one of the conference rooms and taking seats under the umbrellas. Among them, I recognized Amy with a tall, refined-looking man beside her. He placed his hand on her lower back, directing her to a table near the edge of the terrace. I watched as they sat, moving their chairs close together. He wrapped his arm around her shoulders, and she leaned into him. No one else joined him, and I saw her give him a few gentle kisses on the cheek. He smiled back, leaning in to whisper something, and she laughed, playfully tapping his hand as he chuckled. This continued for about half an hour before they rejoined the others inside. I replayed the scene in my mind. They seemed far too comfortable with each other, especially given they were married to other people. They showed only minimal concern about their colleagues seeing their overly friendly behavior, which left me wondering what else might be happening behind closed doors at the office. Though I had met all her co-workers before, the man Amy was with wasn't familiar to me. I assumed he was a board member, but I wanted to confirm it, so I returned to our room to grab my laptop and do a quick search. It only took a moment to find a photo of Steven Simpson, the chairman of Mega's board. He was married to Margot Davis Simpson, the daughter of Mega's founder, William Davis, who still held the majority shares in the company. That was quite a revelation. If Amy was getting involved with him, she was risking a lot. That evening, Amy sat next to me at dinner, chatting happily with a few other senior executives. I struck up a conversation with Diana, a trophy wife seated nearby. I was surprised by her sharp sense of humor and couldn't help but sneak a few glances at the impressive neckline she was displaying. After dinner, as the lights dimmed and music began, Amy leaned over and whispered that she would be dancing with some colleagues, her first words to me in over an hour. Without waiting for a response, she rose and went to the dance floor with another man. "Better get used to it," Diana commented. "Spouses usually get ignored at these things." I joked, "I can't believe your husband would leave you unattended around all these big shots." She laughed. "I'm sure he's off dancing with a board member's wife, trying to score points. He just expects a few minor bigwigs to ask me to dance, and I'll say nice things about him to them." I smiled back. "Well, maybe before you start your assignment you could spare me a dance if you're not too embarrassed to be seen with an EVP's spouse." She laughed and replied, "You're a good 20 years younger than my usual dance partners, so try not to drool." I chuckled. "No promises. Your neckline's impressive, but I'll do my best to keep it together." Diana pressed herself close as we danced, and I managed to keep my composure. Our dance was short-lived, though, as her husband came over, leading her away only to pass her off to his boss. I assumed he wanted her to be a good impression on someone with influence. As I sat watching, Amy danced with several board members, eventually focusing solely on Steven Simpson. After their fourth or fifth dance, the orchestra took a break and she accompanied Simpson back to his table. I thought about leaving, but decided to stay and observe a little longer. At one point, Amy glanced over and noticed me sitting alone. A few minutes later, she came over and sat across from me. "John, you must be terribly bored. Why don't you just head back to the room? I'll join you later after I freshen up." "Well, the orchestra is incredible, and I'd love to end the evening with at least one dance with my charming wife if you can squeeze me into your schedule, John. This is business, important business. Now please just do as I ask and we'll discuss it later," she said before walking away. I stared after her, feeling dismissed. She actually told me to go to my room like I was some misbehaving kid. Anger welled up inside me and I refused to just sit there ignored. After a while, I got up and left. Not wanting to sulk in our room, I went to the bar near the resort lobby. It was quiet and I needed some time to think. It was obvious that Amy was either already involved with or about to get involved with Simpson, and I wasn't willing to put up with it. But for now, I lacked any proof of wrongdoing. After sipping my drink for a bit, I decided to call it a night. I passed by the event hall on my way back and glanced inside. Amy was on the dance floor with Simpson, his hand low on her back, almost on her rear. I asked a staff member how much longer the orchestra would play, and he mentioned they'd be done by 11, with the hall closing at midnight. I must have dozed off while watching TV in bed, because when I checked the clock it read 1:20 a.m., just as Amy slipped into the room, carrying her shoes and sweater. She must have thought I'd be asleep, as she gasped when I turned on the bedside lamp. Her hair was messy, and her lipstick was gone. I looked her over, and she flushed. "I thought you'd be asleep. I've only had 3 drinks tonight, so I'm angry, not drunk. Care to explain where you were?" "You know where I was dancing. I told you I had to spend time with my colleagues." "It's all part of the job, John," she said, almost as if explaining to a child. "Try again from the start. The orchestra ended at 11, so what exactly were you doing for the last 2.5 hours? "Talking with Simpson. Margot is in Europe with her mother, so he's here alone. We went to his room and discussed his plans for the company, and where he sees me fitting into them. So you spent 2 hours talking, I said, making air quotes, in his room while I was left alone. Then you sneak in here with messy hair, no lipstick, and your heels in your hand? That must have been one exhausting conversation. Think what you want, she replied. I need to shower and get some sleep. We still have a half day of meetings tomorrow. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to dinner with Stephen tomorrow night. We're supposed to check out in the morning, and your meeting ends at noon. What are we supposed to do until dinner? She took off her shoes, hands on her hips. You're going home. I'm going with Stephen to his lake house for dinner. So you're leaving at noon to spend the day at his lake house. When exactly are you planning on coming home? I don't know. If it gets too late, I'll just come back Monday morning. No, you're not. You're planning to spend the entire day and night with this guy and then come back to my home. First of all, I never said anything about sleeping with him. And secondly, it's my house, not yours. It's in my name. I stared at her, stunned. When I had completed all the home renovations, Amy had refused to use her bonus to pay down the construction loan. She insisted we refinance, and because I was unemployed, I couldn't qualify for the mortgage. Amy argued I shouldn't be on the deed if I wasn't on the mortgage, a decision that had angered me, though we had planned to move soon anyway. After I completed the renovations, I assumed I'd be back to work by then and able to manage the financing on a new house, so I let things slide. She stood there, hands on her hips and a smirk on her face. I got up from the bed, started getting dressed, and threw my suitcase onto the bed. I yanked open the drawers and began packing my clothes. And now what? Are you going to run away? Where do you think you're going? You have no house, no job, no money. Where the hell do you think you're headed? She taunted. Go to hell, Amy. I'd rather sleep in my car than let you get away with this crap. I won't be your cuckold. I'm divorcing your cheating ass. You're such an idiot, she shot back. You have nothing. You're mine. Without me, you'd be out on the street. Now stop acting like a child. Tomorrow I need to discuss this with Stephen. He's supporting me for the chief operating officer role. This will double my salary and triple my year-end bonus. I'll be able to buy us a beautiful home in a prestigious neighborhood. I don't need a new house. I want a loyal wife who cares about me, about us, about our marriage. Please, Amy, don't do this. You don't have to. You can get this promotion without sleeping with him. Amy shook her head, looked down at the carpet, and muttered, It's too late. That's when I realized she had already done it. I was already a cuckold. Her plans for tomorrow were just more of the same. I looked at her, disgusted. You slept with him. You're full of him right now. Oh my God, you've killed us. Don't be so dramatic, John. We can have everything. So I slept with him, big deal. A quick shower and I'm as good as new. By Monday morning, all this will be over and we'll be set for life. In a few days, you'll forget all about it. I shoved the last of my clothes into the suitcase, zipped it shut, grabbed my jacket, and walked out. As I drove, my phone beeped repeatedly. I knew I was supposed to feel heartbroken, but mostly I just felt numb. As traffic thinned, I set the cruise control, leaning back in my seat, thinking over the past 6 months. It hit me that Amy's behavior had started to change soon after her first promotion. She had become obsessed with ambition, recognition, and being seen as a success. Her values had shifted. She now cared about power and money more than love, loyalty, family, or fidelity. She was all about what she could achieve, the influence she had, and the money she made. The realization that she had become someone completely different from the loving, caring woman I had married filled me with sadness. I wiped away a few tears, mourning the loss of the woman I had cherished for 20 years. On Monday morning, I woke up with a deep sense of dread. I called the attorney who had worked with me at my former job. He gave me the contact information for a family law attorney, and I called to let them know I wanted a divorce. Mr. Dixon, M.S. Hawk, usually only represents women in disadvantageous positions in divorce cases, mainly housewives with unfaithful husbands. I'm not sure why your attorney referred you to her. I'm a house husband. My wife is a high-ranking executive and an adulteress. There was a pause on the other end before she replied, Oh my, this will be a first for her. Can you come in by 11:30? I arrived at Sally Hawk's office around 11:20, where her secretary greeted me with a smile. After a short wait, a petite brunette walked into the reception area. Mr. Dixon, I'm Sally Hawk. Please come into my office. I told her my story, and she took notes as I spoke. So you've been a house husband for about 2 years, she clarified. Yes, I lost my job when my employer sold the company and shut down our division. My wife just received a big promotion, and I haven't been able to find work in my field. She convinced me to stay home and make improvements to our house while she continued her career. So it was her idea for you to become a house husband. Yes, she liked that I handled the cooking, cleaning, laundry, and upkeep of the house while she was free to advance her career. Great. So when did you first start suspecting a problem in your marriage? Honestly, I only recently began to suspect she was cheating, but looking back, I think it might have started almost a year ago. She confessed to her infidelity just this past weekend, which is why I'm here today. Mr. Dixon, I'm sorry this is happening to you, but I promise you will get through this, and I will ensure you are treated fairly in the divorce. You said your wife admitted to cheating. Do you have any proof of this? Did you record her confession? No, I didn't record it. From what I observed, I suspect most of her colleagues know what she's been up to. All right. Although we live in a no-fault divorce state, I'd still like to obtain some evidence of her marital infidelity to use as leverage in the settlement. Would you be open to letting my investigator look into it? I work with Masters Investigations. Jack Masters is an old friend, and his team is very reliable. Of course. I think I should also withdraw some money from our account before she freezes it. Do you have a joint account? Yes, a small checking account at Chase. Most of our money is in a managed portfolio that's jointly owned, but she has several accounts in her name only. All right, after we're done here, go to Chase and withdraw everything except for $1. Deposit the cash somewhere secure, but don't tell me where. I'll work on freezing the investment account and demand full disclosure of all her assets. As I left the bank, my phone rang. Mr. Dixon, this is Jack Masters. Sally Hawk asked me to call you. Do you have a moment to talk privately? I asked as I got into my car and locked the doors. Yes, I'm in my car, parked near the bank, I replied. Sally filled me in on most of the details, and my team will start gathering information this afternoon. Do you plan to stay in the house? I can't afford to move out until I can cash in some of our investments. Understood. You can't make her leave, so I'd suggest relocating to a different bedroom and installing a secure lock. I can arrange for someone to do that if you'd like. Additionally, I recommend setting up some surveillance equipment in your home as soon as possible. I'm on my way home now. I'll pick up a lock set and be back in around 40 minutes. I installed the lock myself while Jack's team discreetly set up several small cameras around the house. I moved my clothes into the room farthest from the main bedroom and was relieved that I had added a small bathroom during the upstairs remodel. Early in the evening, my phone vibrated, alerting me to movement in the driveway. The new camera displayed a clear view of Amy stepping out of a limousine, though I couldn't tell if anyone else was in the car. The driver brought her bags inside, then drove away. I watched from my new room, using my laptop to monitor multiple split screens as Amy walked through the house, calling out my name. She entered the master bedroom, looked around, and, upon finding my closet empty, muttered, "Damn." She checked the bathroom and then left the bedroom. A few moments later, she tugged at the handle of my door. "John, are you in there? What's going on?" "What do you want, Amy?" "John, please open the door. Why are all your things gone from our room?" "Your room. My room is here now." "John, come on. Why are you moving out of our room? Stop this nonsense and let me in." "No, you're not welcome in my room. Go take a shower and wash off your lover's stench. I'll meet you in the kitchen once you're presentable." I heard her sigh, then stomp away. Watching on my laptop, I saw her undress and head to the master bathroom. I locked my door and went to the kitchen, checking my phone to keep tabs on her movements. I shook my head as I saw her put on a revealing bra, only to take it off and slip into a t-shirt with nothing underneath. I knew what she was trying to do, but I couldn't help watching as she came downstairs, her chest bouncing as she walked toward the table where I was seated. "Well, everything's clean, like new. Are you happy now?" she asked. "Happy? Are you kidding? I may never be happy again. You slept with that guy. You've destroyed us. I'm done with you." For a moment she looked stunned, then grew furious. "Listen to me, John Dixon. Nothing has changed, and nothing will change. You need to get over your ridiculous jealousy and stop being so pathetic. Yes, I slept with him, big deal, who cares? Now he has to support me when I go for the chief position. It was purely business. Now move your things back to our bedroom." "How many, Amy? How many what?" "How many more have you slept with? Were they all for business, or were some just for fun?" "What? How dare you? Stephen is the only one, and you know why I did it. He was fine, but he's not as good as you." "I'm surprised you even remember what it's like with me. Let's be honest, it's been a long time since we were together, and even longer since we made love." "That's not true," she stopped, tilting her head. "We did ... we." "Well," her voice trailed off, "if I remember right, you were pretty rough with me the night your last promotion was announced, which was around 6 months ago." "Right, it's been a while." Her face softened. "Oh my God, John, I'm so sorry. I got so wrapped up in my career. Forgive me, baby, I'll make it up to you." "You promise? Like on our wedding day when you vowed to leave everyone else behind. Is that the kind of promise you're offering? Because if so, forget it. I'm done with false promises." "Damn it, John. You need to let this go. My thing with Stephen is over. It's in the past. I know I was focused on winning his support, but that's behind us. Come back to our bed and I'll make it up to you." "Thank you for the generous offer of leftovers, but I'll pass. I'm sure you were with him again this morning, and a shower won't change that. So no thanks." "Fine, be a jerk. Stay in your room and take care of yourself. I don't need you for that. There are plenty of men around. Maybe I should start sleeping with all the guys on the list. Hell, I could be a director in no time." She turned and stomped back upstairs. Sally reviewed the recordings of my conversation with Amy, advising me to stay polite and avoid her. Just 3 days later, Jack's team confirmed that Amy had likely been involved with the head of HR and Stephen even before her promotion to SVP. The report supported my suspicions that her affair had started after she received her initial big promotion. I wondered if she had used these relationships to secure her senior EVP role and a shot at the COO position. What would she be willing to do for a seat on the board? She was clearly using her body to achieve her ambitions, and I couldn't live with that. I asked Sally to move forward with the case. Jack's team located an offshore account of Amy's, and Sally managed to secure full disclosure of her recent salary history. Amy had requested stock options instead of salary raises, and Sally suspected she intended to increase her shares in the company gradually, aiming for a board position. Sally fulfilled her promise. I received half of our stock portfolio and a portion of Amy's cash. I would also get half the value of the house once it sold. After settling with Sally, I ended up with about $600,000 in cash and stocks, with the house appraised at $650,000, meaning Amy owed me roughly $300,000 when it sold. I wouldn't be wealthy, but I also wouldn't be struggling. Sally must have thought I was a decent guy as she introduced me to a newly divorced woman, Carol Hillman. She had received a small manufacturing business in her divorce after her unfaithful husband ran off with his accountant. Sally had helped Carol realize she didn't need her husband but was in desperate need of a good accountant. She hired me right after our first interview. After working for Carol for 3 months, she asked me to review her finances. I helped her organize everything and even submitted an amended tax return that earned her a $3,000 refund. To show her appreciation, she invited me to dinner, and I gladly accepted. Over dinner and a couple of bottles of wine, Carol shared that she was feeling lonely and in need of male companionship. At 55, she was still a beautiful woman, and since I wasn't receiving any other offers, we began a friends with benefits arrangement. It wasn't difficult to keep our unique relationship under wraps at work. Truthfully, I think I'm falling for Carol, and I sense she may feel the same, so I know we'll need to talk about it soon. About a month after my divorce was finalized, Amy was nominated for the role of Chief Executive Officer, with Stephen giving a long-winded speech to the board about her qualities just before the vote on her promotion. But moments before the board members cast their votes, an anonymous email arrived on all of their phones. It included a recording of Amy admitting that she had slept with Stephen to gain his support. In response, the board decided to reject Stephen's recommendation and reappoint William Davis as director. William's first move upon his return was to fire Stephen, his soon-to-be ex-son-in-law. His second decision was to promote his daughter, Margot Davis, to the role of CEO. As CEO, Margot called Amy Dixon into her office to inform her that her services would no longer be required at Mega. I truly felt sorry for Amy's career collapse and empathized with her when I happened to see her at the market. Other shoppers seemed as surprised as I was when Amy suddenly burst into tears and started throwing produce at me. The manager immediately let her go, and it seems holding a job is a real struggle for her these days. Thank you for listening until the end. See you in the next episode of Cheating Stories. Take care of yourself and your loved ones. Goodbye.